Coming up on the WAC podcast, we are still in the championship window. Men's golf being settled this week in Payson, Arizona. That's where I am. Kendra Sheehan is in Arlington, Texas. But last week she was in Harlingen where the tennis championships were set. We'll recap that. Also last week's women's golf tournament and softball, baseball, outdoor track coming down to the wire. That's all up next on the WAC podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner with Kendra Sheehan, and we are in separate places this week as we were at separate places last week for championships. Kendra, good to see you. You're in Arlington, Texas. I'm in Payson, Arizona. Out on the patio, for those of you watching on YouTube, beautiful area here, 5,000 feet. I think we talked about it last week on the podcast that what you think of Arizona, you think of cactus and you think of heat and all that kind of stuff, but there's some beautiful areas in Arizona if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon. And also here in Payson, Arizona, there's mountains all around, elk everywhere. There's like dozens of elk out on the golf course and they're enormous and they just look at you and they just eat grass. And hopefully they don't charge at you, but what a beautiful place it is here. But last week you were near the ocean last week down in Harlingen, Texas.
Yeah, you'd say near the ocean, probably a good 30 minutes to the coast. Didn't actually end up making it out there. We were trying to do it one of the days that we were getting out early, but it just didn't end up working out because South Padre Island's about an hour from there. Actually, on our flight on the way down, there were some older women going on a girls' trip because they all had their teal shirts that said South Padre Island girls' trip. It was kind of cool. But it was beautiful there. It was nice and hot. Luckily, we had some overcast in the morning, so I think the men's tournament might have gotten the better end of the deal there because they played around 9. They also had the smaller bracket, and the women played at noon for the most part. And then on the early first day, they played at 3 p.m. And it was certainly hot out there, but it didn't really deter the teams. I think there was one full body cramps issue one of the days, and they needed to
Hydrate.
Needed to hydrate there. But that was kind of the conversation of just staying prepared. And Grand Canyon's from Phoenix, so they know the heat, and a lot of these schools playing in Texas. But what a tournament it was for the Grand Canyon women, who just absolutely dominated. They went undefeated in regular season and didn't stop them in the tournament, as well as they swept every single person in their path, including the championship against the 2-seed Tarleton State. So they got it done, and they'll be heading to the NCAA tournament. Natasha Pusa was the most outstanding player. She was our WAC player of the year, so no surprise that she performed in the tournament. So Katarina Adamovic's squad is headed to the NCAA tournament. On the men's side, it was very close battle, especially on Champ Day. Grand Canyon men were in the championship, taking on UT Arlington, the defending champs. And it came down to the freshman, Andres Medus, who was the clinching vote in clinching point, I guess you should say, in a hard-fought battle. So they get the 4-3 win over Grand Canyon in the semifinals. They had it tough against the 5-seed, the host seed UTRGV, who had not won a single conference game match, I should say, in the entire year. They take down Seattle U 4-0 in the first round, which was pretty incredible. And then they fought so hard in the semifinals. It was a 4-3 finish, came down to that last court, and UTA just got it done. And so they're going back to back to the NCAA tournament. So GCU women and UTA men in the same spot they were last year, going to the big tennis dance.
And for the first time ever, Kendra, we had live streaming on ESPN Plus of the WAC tennis broadcasts. Tell me about what that was like, your first opportunity to call tennis. I know it's not typically on ESPN Plus, but obviously we had the opportunity to do this in Harlingen, thanks to the help of the folks at UTRGV and at the Harlingen Tennis Center, the HEB Tennis Center there. And tell me what that was like.
Yeah, you have to give your hats off to Jonah Goldberg and Mikey Rodriguez, because it was their vision that they wanted to stream tennis, and they enlisted the help of the city to build these platforms, is what I was told in Harlingen, where all the cameras were put on. So I guess the city got involved there, met Gabriel Gonzalez, city manager. So they had all hands on deck for this. They were so excited to host a conference tournament in their city. So they've been preparing for it for, I'm told, most of the year. And yeah, it was just a ton of equipment that they had to bring out there. I was trying to, brag to them on other people. I'm like, but do you see the inventory? Do you see how many wires they had to go through and count and everything? And that stuff didn't go unnoticed. It was a ton of hard work to be able to get it going. And then yeah, we had live commentary on Saturday. Me and Matt Carvazos, who is a UTRGV production employee, got his first chance at broadcasting. And, it's his first time on air. He played tennis 8 to 9 years growing up. And so he brought some nice insight and a lot of different rules, as tennis can get confusing to a lot of people. And, maybe we had a lot of new viewers who had never really understood how collegiate tennis worked. So that was a lot of fun. And we did have one court going at once. So then we kind of just rotated. So my main role was kind of keeping viewers, taking them along to which court we're on, who's playing. And then, Matt provided some nice analysis. So it all went well. There was a little confusion on the women's side. We'll say, the live stats hadn't updated. So it was 3-2. Next thing you know, everyone's running in celebrating. And we were we didn't know whether there was a forfeit situation. There were a couple courts that had taken that 10-minute cooling off period that you could take. So others didn't, but some did because it was so hot. And so we're like, did she forfeit? Did she quit? No, it just, the live stats hadn't updated. So as soon as, about a minute afterwards, it updated 6-3 or whatever it ended up being. So Grand Canyon was able to take that down. And I mean, yeah, it was, they dominated. They made that second match, nice and fun to call. Tarleton State, give them credit for going out there and fighting, because it wasn't, the score was 4-0, but it wasn't a total sweep. It was a lot closer than I think the score indicated. They were competing hard out there, especially that doubles point. It really came down to kind of extra sets. So it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. And if people were wondering, on championship day, and we talked a little bit about it before the broadcast here on the podcast, that the men's championship, as you mentioned, so exciting, but went longer than expected. So the women's championship started while the men's championship was still finishing up. So with the one stream, it was a little bit of a challenge, and then you're able to flip over and cover the women's exclusively after the men were able to finish there. But yeah, that's a lot to cover there. And, we're hopeful that this continues into the future. I was at the Women's Golf Championship last week here in Payson, Arizona, at the Rim Golf Club. If you're wondering, again, if you're watching on YouTube, why I'm at the Airbnb on the patio here, part of the reason, and a little behind inside baseball here with streaming, obviously you have to have a great internet connection. And the internet connection at the golf course, beautiful golf course, great people to work with, internet connection wouldn't be able to do this Zoom. So that's why I'm here at the Airbnb. Not necessarily the greatest internet here as well, but better than at the golf course. So anyway, had an opportunity to watch some fantastic golf last week here. Seattle U kind of came out of nowhere. They were just kind of hanging around. Day one, I believe they're in 6th place, Kendra. And then on day 2, they kind of moved up. They were sitting in 4th place. California Baptist wound up the back 9 at the rim, really tough. California Baptist wound up falling into 4th place, which meant Seattle U got to play in the final group with Abilene Christian Grand Canyon. During the course of the day, Abilene Christian was in first starting the day. Grand Canyon took the lead. And then as we headed to the back 9, here comes Seattle U, and they wind up winning their first ever women's golf championship. So congratulations to Marc Chandonnet and all the players there at Seattle U as they win. And Seattle U found out on Wednesday they're heading to the NCAA regionals. They will play at Tumble Creek Club in Washington, so they get to stay close to home as the number 12 seed. And also Ryan Honey was the individual champion from Abilene Christian. Remember, their very first year with a women's golf program. She is heading to the NCAA regionals. That will be in Bryan, Texas, hosted by Texas A&M. So couple of teams advancing there. But yeah, a very exciting tournament, especially down the stretch. But what a challenging course! A lot of hills. Kendra, I'm not kidding when I tell you, not only is this course hard to walk, it's hard to drive a golf cart on. I mean, some of these hills are like super steep. Jess Radford was out here, and there's a couple times like, "Come on, cart, get up the hill." So I can only imagine when you're carrying a bag for 18 holes for 3 days in a row, and it just shows what the physical condition that these golfers have to be in.
Yeah, did anyone have those fancy? I've seen some push ones that have
They
wheels.
did, and actually, I was told that made it even tougher because
Oh,
they had to push. They're pushing it up this vertical hill as opposed to when you're carrying a bag, you kind of get a little more leverage. So this week the men are playing here in Payson, Arizona, but at a different course. This one is called the Golf Club at Chaparral Pines. I'm told, Kendra, this one's even tougher.
oh man.
So,
Oh, so my
but
next question.
we're shooting this on Thursday, so the practice round is today. We have first round starting on Friday, a second round on Saturday, with the final round on Sunday. Saturday, Kendra, I was looking, the high here is supposed to be 57 degrees. So last week was in the upper 70s, beautiful weather. Might be a little chillier than people might be used to, especially up here at 5,000 feet in the mountains of Arizona. So it's going to be a lot of fun to check that out. Grand
Pack your
Canyon, the top
jacket?
ranked team in men's golf in the WAC this year. They're number 66 in the country, and they will be paired initially with Utah Valley. But you can follow all those stats on birdiefire.com.
Did you pack any additional warm clothes? I know you've been out there for quite some time.
I did. I brought my hat, my gloves, and my kind of medium winter jacket, I would say. So
Is it the bucket hat that's people's icks?
the bucket hat. I did not have it every day, but I did. It does keep the sun off your head, so didn't want to get
Lot of hats.
sunburned. Right, that's always key. Also wanted to back up here. We did give out our women's golf awards this week as well, Kendra. And Rivika Drumagalova is our women's golfer of the year. She was the top one from Seattle U. Marc Chandonnet was coach of the year, also from Seattle U. And Mark is also the men's golf coach for the Redhawks. And we'll have him on the show in a little bit here, as quite a week for him, as he spent a lot of time here in Arizona, and it was very happy to get that first championship. And then Pusanisa Ekatrong from California Baptist is our freshman of the year. CBU also had a nice tournament, but like I said, it was so back and forth, especially on that last day. A lot of fun to watch.
A lot of fun to watch. I didn't mention who our tennis MOP was, and that was on me, Dante Teramo from UT Arlington. Just wanted to put that out there. He was the clinching point for the semifinal matchup
And,
that got the championship.
and then Natasha Pusey was the
Women.
women's MOP, and that was interesting. We talked a little bit about her last week. I think her fifth year playing tennis at GCU, second time being player of the year, but I think it had been back since like 2021 since she had been player of the year. So
Yeah, she was not it last year.
yeah, so but I think a four-time, maybe even five-time first team all WAC selection. So great career for her. Can you believe softball's coming up here in like 10 days?
I know. Can you believe it's the end of April?
I can't.
Where's the
Where
time?
is the time going?
Softball. I'm getting in the softball mindset as I'm going to Abilene Christian tomorrow, Friday, for a doubleheader against California Baptist. So got a chance to talk to both head coaches, doing my preparation. And as of right now, only 8 teams make the conference tournament. Abilene Christian is one of those bottom teams that would make it. They didn't make it last year. It kind of came down to a 3-way ties breaking situation where actually California Baptist, they were sitting at a great position last year and they started dropping all these games down the stretch and they had to win with another loss and they had snuck into that 8th spot. And so fast forward to this year, it is California Baptist sitting at the 2 spot, hoping to secure a spot so they don't have to play in that early round single elimination contest. So that's what they're fighting for. And then Abilene Christian looking to get into the tournament. But as of right now, both teams should be in. You guys can see them in Seattle. So Not that that makes my prep easier, but it's nice to, have a jump on the top possible 8 teams in.
Yeah, the top four get a bye into basically a double elimination tournament. As you mentioned, 5 through 8 basically play a single elimination to get into that double elimination tournament. Grand Canyon in first place, 17-3. As you mentioned, California Baptist right now at 12-6. So GCU, I haven't done the math on the clinching because you never know how many games are going to be played because of weather in the sports of softball and baseball. But I believe GCU has clinched a spot now, and they are closing in on also trying to win the regular season. Host Seattle U would be the 3 seed, but yeah, there's a lot to be determined. They're 11-9. UT Arlington, Utah Valley at 10-9. Abilene Christian, you mentioned they're kind of on the bubble. They would be in right now. They're 8-12. Southern Utah would be on the outside looking in at 7-13. So only a game separating those teams. So a lot to be figured out here in the last. Is this the last week of? Or we have 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks. They have 2 more conference matchups. As I will be on the call for the last conference matchup, UT Arlington, Seattle U.
So are you going to be doing color analyst or both or play-by-play or
doing color for both? It appears so. 4 games color on the docket.
and then of course at Seattle U you're going to be the Swiss Army knife of broadcasters. You're going to be doing some play-by-play, some analyst, and some sideline reporting.
Absolutely. Very excited to be involved heavily in our broadcast and getting to work with some new broadcasters that I haven't gotten the chance to work with yet over in Seattle. And, I don't know if you know this, but Jesse McCartney is on his comeback tour 20 years later after being a sensation across the nation. And he's actually playing in Seattle that Friday night when we're there. It is sold out. But anyone from Seattle U that is listening, the Showbox, if you have any connections, the inner child in me would love to see him.
I wish I could tell you who Jesse McCartney is.
What? It's how do you wait, let's see what's a good one. How do you sleep knowing all I do is think of you?
Yeah, not on my playlist.
Oh man. Well,
actually, the only thing on my playlist is the WAC podcast. So,
as it should be on everyone's.
On Spotify and Apple Podcast and SoundCloud, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Baseball also. What are we less than a month away from Mesa, Arizona? Getting a little closer at the top, Kendra, as Grand Canyon, California Baptist now tied at 13-5. Did you happen to see what I don't know if we talked about it last week when CBU played Stephen F. Austin, they actually did not allow a run in the 3-game series. Then they played at Abilene Christian. They go 2-1 in that one. So CBU playing some fantastic baseball. Abilene Christian now in 3rd place. They've won 2 games in a row, and the Wildcats showing that they're one of the best teams in the WAC this year. So there's some exciting if you're scoreboard watching, and again it's the same format as softball where there's 8 teams that go, but you want to be in that top 4 so you're guaranteed that double elimination bracket. There's some good teams that might be playing for their playoff lives, if you will, in Mesa.
Yeah, it's so close with the standings. As you mentioned, those 4 teams, if the season stopped right now, it would cut off with Utah Valley 11-7, but you have UTA and Tarleton State right there with 12-9 that are, a lot to be decided because, as we kind of saw last year, you can run out of gas if you have to go into that, if you fall back to that lower part of the bracket and also have to play in that play-in game. And so we know it's hot in Mesa, temperatures can scorch over 100 degrees. So, putting yourself in the best position possible to be in the upper bracket and have to play the fewest amount of games to the championship sounds simple, as everyone, anyone would look at and be like, that's where I want to be. But yeah, this is what these teams are fighting for right now.
And Sacramento State, on the bubble, really, I mean, they're 9-9. They beat USC twice last week. So, I mean, that shows you the quality of WAC baseball, especially this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun heading down the home stretch. Also, outdoor track and field is also just 2 weeks away. That's going to be in Orem, Utah. I'm going to that one. And our Ticket Smarter Outdoor Track and Field Athletes of the Week on the women's side, UTRGV's Zoe Adams, Utah Valley's Kelsey Oldroyd are the Ticket Smarter Athletes of the Week. Adams she picked up a program record at Rice University, where UTRGV was competing in the 400-meter dash, and Oldroyd her second straight weekly field award after topping her javelin throw from the week before and getting the getting a top five jump in the long jump. So there are two athletes to keep an eye on as we head to Orem, Utah.
Should be a great spot for the outdoor track and field championships. And we'll even she won't be competing because she is suffering from an injury right now, but we have our next episode of Commish on Campus soon to debut soon, Makia Washington. She might not be competing, but she is still a big factor on the team, as you'll hear when we drop that episode. So
yeah, we had an opportunity to go to UTA. Was that last week? I can't keep track of the dates anymore.
I know. It literally was it? Last Monday.
Yeah, and so that'll be our next episode coming up the week of track and field. Also wanted to mention our men's Ticket Smarter Athletes of the Week. Tarleton State's Hugo Menon, Grand Canyon's Israel Aloyade were the Athletes of the Week. Aloyade, top of the leaderboard in the hammer throw by 13 meters.
Wow.
You might remember him from a couple years ago, Kendra. He was one of the best throwers in indoors, and was kind of on the watch to be a potential national champion. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but he is back and better than ever. Menon for Tarleton State competed in the 400 meters at the Michael Johnson Invitational at Baylor, placing fourth in that. So congratulations to our Ticket Smarter Athletes of the Week.
Always good to have those awards come out. Nice accolades to add to your resume. And yeah, it's pretty awesome as we're gearing up for our final set of championships. I know you're currently at one, but for the rest of us, we only got a few more left.
That's right. And coming up next, we're going to talk to Marc Chandonnet, the winning head coach from Seattle U Women's Golf. He's also competing with the men's golf team. Actually, he's coaching the men's golf team. He's not competing with them. That's coming up next on the WAC podcast.
University Credit Union has been serving students, employees, and alumni of the university community for more than 70 years. We've got plenty of moves that benefit our members, like the lowest loan rates in the nation guarantee, educational resources, personalized savings and investing advice, and 24/7 online and mobile banking. Plus, our virtual assistant, Royce, is always happy to deliver an assist. University Credit Union, the winning choice. Learn more and join today at ucu.org.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. Eric Danner now with Marc Chandonnet, the head golf coach at Seattle U, men's and women's. Coach, we're here for the men's tournament this week, but let's kind of recap the women's tournament. That was pretty exciting for Seattle U. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
WAC Coach of the Year. You won the tournament championship. You're headed to the NCAAs. The round, I think round one, you guys were in fifth place?
Yeah, fifth place, I believe.
And then you kept moving up. What was your strategy going in? Did you have an idea that, okay, if we shoot this certain score, if we hang around, we might have a shot at the title on the last day?
Yeah, Eric, our strategy never changed from the start of the year to the finish. It was just being present, and being grateful for the moment that we're in, and just keep fighting. So, and I was proud of the girls in the way that they handled some of the adversity out there. So didn't change.
Final round, you're paired up with Abilene Christian, Grand Canyon. ACU had the lead going in, but all three of you had the lead at some point.
Yeah.
I know Birdie Fire is not exactly live scoring, but looking at it every time I refreshed, it seemed like somebody was different in the front end. As the back nine came around, you guys really had a charge. What was it about that back nine that allowed the Redhawks to win the championship?
I wish I could pinpoint. It seemed like we played the back nine just a little bit better. I really think it's a testament to the fact that they stayed patient and that they did stay present. That allowed them to have a bit more energy as they finished up their rounds, if that makes sense. So they weren't as worn out, because that golf course could easily beat you down. And we didn't allow it to. So
And as I mentioned, you get Coach of the Year. Rebecca is our Golfer of the Year as well, which is the entire season. You got to feel pretty proud that she made that award.
Yeah, she was a WAC Freshman of the Year. She's had her ups and downs with health, and it's good to have her back, feeling good and confident. And she's just always been a fantastic player, and has really elevated the way we think and the way we do things, and our belief in the group as a whole.
And the selection show was on Wednesday. It's Thursday now. So you were in Seattle for the selection show.
I was.
So tell me about what that was like to, have one of those for the women. First time you've ever won the WAC championship for the women.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly special. It's something that when I took the job, I told my wife that was my goal, to get both of these programs to NCAAs. And we lost 4 playoffs to get into regional over the years, and so this is history. And it was nice for the people that support our program, the donors, the staff, the students, to have that experience. So it's all about the players, and it was a fun day.
Yeah, not to rip off a wound here, but I was there, I think in 2019 when there was a tie with you and New Mexico State when the playoff.
Yeah.
So obviously you were first place,
right?
But New Mexico State won the playoff and they got to go to the NCAAs.
Yeah.
Did that make this that much sweeter?
It sure did. Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, the adversity that you go through in this game to win, which doesn't happen very often, certainly makes it worth it, no doubt.
So the men this week, we're still in Payson, Arizona. And I talked to you last week, and of course you had lived in Arizona, and so you're familiar with this area. What's different about this course at the Chaparral Pines as opposed to the Rim where we were last week?
Well, this one's a little bit tighter. You have to play a little bit more pinpoint golf. But a lot of the same things in regard to, doing the math to figure out altitude and how far the ball is going to fly. Getting used to the physical conditioning of walking around in those altitudes. But here you're going to have to put your golf ball in places and play the golf course the way that it's meant to be played, not get too aggressive. So be a little bit more challenging.
And we're at 5,000 feet. Of course, people think of Arizona and the cactus and 100-degree weather, but it looks like it's going to be in the 50s on Saturday. And does that change your game at all, or your players' game?
Well, I think it definitely benefits some of the colder weather schools. We're used to this. This actually feels really warm to us. Whereas some of the schools that live in 80-degree weather, it's pretty chilly. So, hopefully that plays to our benefit. But these kids are all great players, so it shouldn't do much to them.
So what's the game plan? Like we were saying last week, you hang around, if you're within striking distance, what's it going to take for Seattle U to come away, the men to come away with the same trophy the women?
Yeah, that's exactly, you said it perfectly. Like, stay within striking distance, right? I've told my guys that pars are going to be really good scores out here. So I think they're going to need to be patient. I think the team that makes the fewest mistakes is able to be the most patient, is going to have an opportunity. So that's the game plan, and my guys are pumped because of what happened last week. So hopefully they're using that to, kind of settle things down for themselves and just be focused on process.
Now you coach the men's and women's. There's a couple of coaches out here that do that. That's pretty taxing on the old schedule.
It can be. I've done it for 20 years or 18 years by myself. So now that I have Michelle, she's fantastic support system for the program, brings a nice energy to us, and has just been really good for kind of helping me to get some more balance.
So at what point do you got to be game planning for the women's regional, but at the same time you're here.
Yeah.
That'll be in Washington. So that's a good draw for you, I would guess.
Yeah. We're not disappointed about it by any means. It's going to be a great place for us to garner some support locally and get people in there. That's going to be really great. I know the golf course well. Our planning already started when I was home over the last couple of days. I had meetings with a couple of the girls about how they can get prepared and get to know the golf course. So yeah, we're excited. It'll be great.
Awesome. That is Marc Chandonnet, WAC Women's Golf Coach of the Year, also coach of the men's program at Seattle U. Thank you for listening to the WAC Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the WAC Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com. WAC.com.